Welcome to Built for This, the podcast where purpose meets performance. Hosted by business strategist and human behavior specialist Carly Pepin, this show dives into the real stories behind high-growth businesses. Let's bring life to your vision.
Hey guys, so welcome back. I'm really excited for today. We have Rohini Kasturi here, and he is a distinguished C-suite executive, board member, and trusted advisor to numerous private equity and venture capital firms. An alumnus of Harvard and Stanford, he has profoundly impacted the growth trajectories of various public, private, and venture-backed companies. His pioneering efforts in the hybrid cloud market since early 2010, coupled with his expertise in scaling SaaS businesses in data, security, and more, have solidified his reputation as a respected leader and trusted advisor, and earned him numerous accolades and over 20 patents. Kasturi was pivotal as EVP and Chief Product Officer at SolarWinds, a renowned IT management software company. He managed product development, engineering, product marketing, strategic alliances, portfolio management, and several other functions, transforming the company structure towards a platform model and achieving remarkable year-over-year growth in key business metrics. His professional journey includes a significant tenure at Pulse Secure as the Chief Product and Development Officer. Here, he doubled the company's bookings by innovating the Zero Trust security portfolio and played a critical role in its acquisition by Ivanti. Before this, as the VP GM of Cloud and Data Management business unit at Veritas Technologies, he launched the first multi-cloud data and information management SaaS platform, demonstrating his forward-thinking approach. He is also the founder, CEO of Avni.io, a venture in cloud virtualization technology, which Veritas later acquired. With more than 2 decades of technical achievement and business acumen in the B2B tech industry, Rohini Kasturi continues to foster leadership through empathy and accountability and to drive innovation across SaaS, cloud, data analytics, and AI agentic technologies. So welcome, Rohini. I'm really excited to have you today.
Thank you, Carly, for having me on the session today. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, I know. So tell me a little bit about what you're up to now, what you're doing now, where you're at, and the projects that you're mainly focused on.
So, what we're up to right now is we are on this mission to solving an important use case in AI. And we do believe that when we look at AI right now, everybody is looking at AI for operational efficiency, cutting jobs, or something else that is going on with AI. We are looking at it in a very different lens. How can AI and data or intelligence be used to driving revenue growth? In fact, if you can fuel revenue growth and customer retention through the intelligence and leveraging all the AI technologies, then the conversation shifts to how do people use it for revenue growth, right? And people shifts, all the executives can start thinking about more about the top line growth, thereby how do I leverage more employees and more talent to driving growth, right? So that's the problem we're trying to solve. So it's exciting to be at Hedgy Insights, Carly.
That's cool. And tell me a little bit how you guys are solving that problem directly within the company. I'm curious how you're just applying those principles and seeing it work within the company.
Yeah. See, what we do, maybe just as a little context, what HG Insights does is we have a lot of proprietary data, and the proprietary data is vast, 15 years of proprietary data. And using that, we come up with account level and group level intelligence. What it means is, let's take a company like Pfizer. We have intelligence about Pfizer at a company level and also at a group level. What products do they use? Where do they spend the money? What is that they're trying to buy? We have various types of intelligence that is needed by sales, marketing, and the entire go-to-market teams. So the way we use it is basically we use the intelligence ourselves to say, what's our ideal list of customers that we should target? What's our ideal customer profile? What's our SOM account? SOM is serviceable, obtainable market as opposed to the TAM, which is always big. Which are the accounts I should go after? Within those accounts, which are the customers that are likely to, looking for a product right now? What are the competitors' products that they use? We leverage the intelligence ourselves in our go-to-market motions to be very efficient from a revenue growth. So we're looking at how do we take all our intelligence to driving revenue growth ourselves. But of course, that's the main use case that we sell to most of Fortune 500 today.
Awesome. And that's really cool. And I'm curious as well, like what brought you to HG Insights? What made you decide to work there? What was exciting about it?
Yeah. So,
Mhm.
see, if you what has happened is what was the pivotal point for me was I was a customer of HG when I was at my prior role, SolarWinds, right? And we at every company that I've been in last many years, we develop a growth plan, right? Every company has a growth plan. Every CEO, CFO is creating growth plan. The growth plan is, say, you're at X million ARR, you're trying to become 2x by so much, right? By 3 years, 5 years, whatever the journey is. Usually, when you build a growth plan, every time that I've seen is it is built based off of very high level TAM. Oh, we are in a $30 billion market. If we get 3% of the share, we are going to get X dollars, right? And then you take some product strategy, you take some historical financials, and you create a projection saying that, hey, you are at X, next year you'll be X plus 10%, then the following year more, like that. Everybody creates a plan. There's no data, there is no intelligence, there is no science behind it. So usually what happens is because there is no intelligence that is deeply connected to the execution, all of those plans, growth plans are all like all these slide decks exist in every public company that you see out there. There is a slide deck about how that company is growing. And if you follow for 4 quarters or 6 quarters, they're redoing the plan because the plan doesn't remain intact, right? There's hardly anything that remains intact. So that is where we ran into HGE and found that, we are also launching new products at SolarWinds, right? And new platform solutions. And then we said, hey, you know what, we now need to grow this business and we need very specific intelligence about, who are the right customers, and do the customers have our competitors' products? If they have competitors' products, are they the right customers to focus? Where should we focus? So we got a lot of intelligence from HGE and we built a growth playbook based on data and intelligence to be very precise in our go to market. That is what attracted to me. So in the process, I was involved in helping hedge insights and advising them, and then the board conversations came up, and so on. So eventually, then that all those conversations and engagement led to an opportunity, and I said, hey, there is no better gratifying vision than if you can grow everybody's business and using intelligence, that can only lead to more jobs, more security for everybody, and the whole economy booms, right? So how do you help with that revenue growth mission was what brought me to Hedge Insights.
I love that. I love that. It's a really cool snowball effect. You're right. It's like you get to help all these businesses help, their employees, their customers, and reach so many people. It's really cool. That's definitely inspiring. Yeah. Yeah. And so tell me a little bit about your role today at HG Insights, what you're up to on a day-to-day basis.
See, on a day-to-day basis, we are looking at, right now, the world is evolving to more automation and, leveraging more AI solutions, right? And again, our mission, our purpose doesn't change, which is really, hey, how do we drive the revenue growth and retention for our customers, partners, and of course us, and that leads to much more economy and growth, etc., right? So that's the fundamental story that doesn't change. What changes is how customers are approaching it, and thereby how does our offerings change. How do we educate the customers and enable them on the offerings that they're looking for, and is what we are evolving. So in a sense, there is a product evolution evolving to more agentic solutions, more automated solutions, so they can consume our intelligence in a much more easier way. There is definitely evolution in pricing and packaging we're doing to resonate with the agentic economy. Then we have developed agents and co-pilots to help us, guide our customers in a faster, better way. So there's significant evolution on product and offerings and so on. Then there is evolution on the go-to-market as well. For example, right now our offerings are available through Anthropic Marketplace, then the OpenAI Marketplace, and soon to be in another big hyperscaler marketplace. So customers can consume it different ways. But we've been predominantly focused on the large enterprise customers and the mid-market customers. We have significant customers there, so we're going to the customers. So there's evolution and transformation happening across all functions currently.
That's exciting. And how long have you been at HG Insights now?
I'll be finishing my 2 years shortly. at
That's
Hedge
awesome.
Insights. Yeah.
And tell me a little bit of when you came on, maybe some of the things that you shifted, transformed, some of the things that you changed that you've been putting into action in the past couple years.
Yeah, so the one first shift we started doing, and which is we're still doing to the next level, is really what is the product evolution, right? The fundamental reason for that is we have had this proprietary data for a while. Hedgie was always an AI company in one sense. We were doing machine learning to understand our data, then we are applying AI to really harvest the data and really get insights from the data. Now, with that, we were only able to mine 8% of the data that we had when I joined. Okay, that's because we are applying traditional AI and machine learning. We said, hey, with all the new technologies that are evolving, whether it's new language models that are evolving, new technologies that are evolving, we should be able to mine significant portion of our data at scale. So by this year end, we will be mining close to 85% of our data. Okay, which is like from coming from 8% to 85% means enormous insights and intelligence that we can extract out of our proprietary data. That's one big shift that we have been doing the last two, now it will be 2.5 by the time this completely gets done. The second part is we also had to shift our complete pricing and packaging to a credit-based model, because if you look at what you're hearing from Anthropic and everybody else is a token-based model. We have made that shift last year. We said, hey, you know what, because the intelligence, like we want to provide all types of intelligence to customers in the form factor that they like. But then the more they consume, the more they pay us, right? But they can use their minimal intelligence to solve their problems, right? So we shifted to a more of an annual subscription consumption based model, right? And from a go-to-market motion, we have been tightening the focus, right? Like where do we really focus, hyper focus, just like we are telling our customers where they should focus. The same problem applies to us. How do we take our intelligence, to your first question, how do we take our intelligence to be very focused on the right customers who need evolution? So significant transformation happening across, and of course, and my fingers are all of my fingerprints are all over the place, but it's the team that is executing all these transformations at the end of the day.
Yeah, that's amazing. And I'm curious too, because I know this is a big transformation within the company. And something that you mentioned is transformations can be quite tricky. They can be hard, but it's something that you love to do. So, what are some of the challenges that you've been encountering as you make these transformations? And I'm curious how you're overcoming them.
Yeah. See, the difficult part about transformations, like this time around, it's more trickier because we are at the cusp of the entire industry transforming, entire tech industry is transforming, right? One is predicting what products and technologies would they use, how do they want to use it. It's not going to be exactly the same as what they have done in the past. Things are going to change. Then when you do that, it has implications to the people part. Like you are asking people to do new things, develop new muscle, right? It has implications to your culture. It has implications to everything that you do. How do you rally the people? How do you align the people, etc.? So that's why transformations are tricky right now, because I've gone through a transformation playbook a few times now. Maybe this is my fourth transformation playbook. Like take existing products, get them into new products, new go to market, new pricing, new things. So it is an undertaking by itself. But the good part is, we are very aware that this is needed, and maybe needed one more time in the next 18 months because of how the market is moving. So it's mainly that self-awareness that's what is needed, not just with me, right? But entire company, right? Leadership, everybody needs to feel that they need to learn continuously. They need to adopt to the changing needs, extreme listening to customers, but then there's a balance of also educating them that, hey, this new offering will help you in a certain way, because customers are also defining what they want. So that balance is what is needed in the transformation. So there's a lot of going on here. So, yeah.
Hey everyone, it's Carly. If you're really resonating with what we're talking about and want to get clear on what truly drives you, what your core values are, head on over to my website. In the tools and tips section, there is a free values assessment. And this is a quick exercise that's going to help you to uncover what actually matters most with you so you can lead and live with more clarity, fulfillment, and momentum. Yeah, and I'm curious too, because you're right. Like with technology, so much is emerging so fast, so regularly, especially with these AI models and how things are transforming and shifting. So, how do you guys translate that? How do you and your team translate that to the employees to ensure, they're not getting burnt out, stressed out, but they can stay on board with this new dynamic?
Yeah, so it's a few things, right? First and foremost, the one thing that we had to do is reinvent ourselves from our company values, right? And we've been educating them that the values that we had in the past are not necessarily the right one that will resonate for the future. So there has been re-mentioned. For example, you have embedded growth mindset as an important value into the company, right? Which means that we want everybody to be curious to learn new things and want to be learning new things so that they can adopt and so on, right? So that's one. Then the second is driving the values into reality, which is that a lot of training sessions, enablement sessions we're doing to inculcate that culture, right? And the third is really a lot of communications that go on, right? Hey, what does this mean? There's a change to vision and strategy. It means change to new offerings, change to pricing. This definitely means changes to how you enable your sales teams, how you market it, right? How the website changes, the campaigns changes. There is a change plan for everybody, bringing the plans together in a cohesive way, tighten them up, and then explaining to the organization that, hey, there is an interconnected plan that is letting us move, and in the process celebrating the small wins and continuously making the pivot. So transformations, like you touched upon, we want to bring in everyone along, but it's not easy as we say it. It is not meant for the faint heart, right? This is hard, but that's the crossroads we are in as an industry right now.
Yeah, it's very true. And I'm curious as well, because I know with this level of shift within the culture and just how things are going to happen within the workplace, I know that some people will look at the culture and feel like this is not for me anymore. So, did you guys have a significant quantity of fallout during the transformation? Has there been a lot of changes in leadership? I know sometimes even that happens.
Yeah. We did have leadership changes. We did several changes. One because like you said, right? This is a employees have to believe that this is what I want to be part of, and second is the company also has to believe that this is the right thing from an overall business, right? So there's the way we look at it is, say, are we solving an important problem first and foremost? Okay, are we solving it in the best possible way, right? Coming up with the right solutions. Then the second is, in that process, does it help individuals grow their careers and success? Like, for
Mm.
example, if you're part of the team, if you do something that contributes to the success of the company, does this grow your career? Is that what you want? Right? Right, of course, that growth has few things, right? The growth could be financial, it could be career, or developing new technologies or new muscle on sales or marketing. It could be any of them, but it has to align with your personal development plans. And the third one is, does the team also succeed together? Because this is where the culture fit comes in, right? And are you part of the right team, that where the team is succeeding? So it's company success, then the team success, and the individual success has to be aligned. So only when we align it, it works, right? So that is where the changes comes in, because some people realize that, hey, you know what? I don't see that I can grow here, or I don't want to grow at this point in my career. Maybe I am content, right? Or it could be like, hey, this person, wants to grow. Everything is good, but they don't fit into the team model where the team is growing, but they don't fit in that model, right? So there are reasons why transformations are hard. But our goal, our intent, if you look at it, and our attempt and approach at this company is, how do we bring as many people as we can along? How do we communicate? How do we educate? How do we do whatever we can in our power? Like, for example, it's easy for a CEO or a leaders to do a layoff, say, hey, we'll do 20% reduction, let's hire new people, right? But we feel that, there is a responsibility as leaders to do as much as we can to train our people in the best of our abilities. But then it is a two-way street. This is one thing I explained it with all hands. Right? We will do AI enablement sessions, and we have been doing several of them. But then there is also the other part, which is, are you participating? Are you listening? Are you learning? Are you trying hands on in both ways? Right. So we want to provide as much help as we can to make everyone succeed. But there's definitely, like you said, it's not the right thing for everyone, and we
Yeah.
recognize it. But we want to wish everyone the best and success.
Absolutely. It also, like you said too, it depends on how they show up as well. Like if they're willing to kind of dive into this culture, do the work. Yeah. And so this is your fourth transformation, which is exciting. And I imagine the first transformation you were involved in, that it was probably a bit different, that you have a lot of lessons learned since then.
Yeah.
So, yeah, tell me a little bit about even that first transformation that you were involved in, and maybe some of the big things that you faced back then that you do differently now.
Yeah, no, no, great. See, first transformation, I've realized a lot of communication challenges, for example, right? For example, as a leader also, I wasn't communicating almost on a weekly basis or a daily basis because I was in a big organizational setup, right? And we were a completely new business unit transforming, just like Microsoft was transforming a business unit and then applied it broadly. We were doing exactly the same model, which is a new business unit completely incubating. But then the rest of the company environment wasn't the right fit. Right? One is communications, and how do we make sure we can bring can we address the cultural dynamics of this company? How do we think about the culture transformation? There are a lot of things that we could have done different in the hindsight, looking at it, right? And going to the second transformation, it was, I would say, much more successful than the third transformation, which was even more successful to a much larger and a bigger scale in a short order. Now this is different. It is a smaller company, but we have done already one phase of transformation successfully. We are now measuring the results of it. Now we are on to the second phase of transformation, so which is great. Right? So it's a, like I said, every time it's getting better and better.
That's exciting. And how long would you say that these stages of transformation generally take to complete within a company?
Depending on the size of the company, anywhere from 18 months to 3 years. But in the world we are in, our phase two transformation is defined as a 1 year cycle, which is completely 2026. We are making additional shifts in product, additional shifts in pricing, additional shifts in go-to-market, sales and marketing, right? We are bringing a lot of AI first approach so that we slow down on hiring as opposed to laying off people, but instead focus on revenue growth as the primary driver that will enable unlock more value down the line. So now we are defining it as a 1 year, but again, every company has to see, what are they dealing with, and so on.
That's exciting. And I'm curious too, when you came on board, was it something that they directly expressed to you? Like they wanted you to come on board for the transformation, or did you come in and say, hey, I think we need to go in this direction?
It is both, right? Like usually in a situation like a CEO talking, or interviewing, or engaging with the board and so on. The board, in our case, our investors have a view on where is the market heading and what would be required out of the next CEO, right? What are the expectations? So they have some asks and expectations that they lay out. Usually they are at a, call it a 50,000 feet, 100,000 feet level, because they're looking at it from a market lens and an investment lens, and where the market and what would be the profile needed, right? Then that's their view, or that's the lens I'm usually given. The where I come into picture is, okay, now if that's the lens that they're looking at, what's my independent view of the business? Is that the right lens? And then if so, what is the detail behind it? Like, if that's not the right lens, what is an alternate lens that they should look at? Because I'm come from an operating background as opposed to an investor or a board background, right? Like, because board and investors look at it from one lens. An operator looks at the same problem in a different lens. Like, how do I really make this happen? What does this mean, right? To sales or marketing or go to market or finance, or sometimes there are transformation in all these functions. So I laid out that puzzle even before I joined the job, right? That's usually a very normal thing, right? You have a view on what you are walking into, and then you refine it in the first 90 days, because now you would have got an exposure to a lot of the reality, both in terms of people, process, and tools. Then you refine it, then okay, what, this is the redefinition of the original plan that you want to execute on for the next year or 18 months or whatever that is, and then measure yourself up and so on, right? And it's a continuous cycle, by the way. Now, once you're in that seat, you're constantly looking at every quarter, like, what's my plan for the next 4 quarters, and that never stops.
Yeah, and I'm curious too, because something that you shared is in that first 90 days, usually changes because you're like, now I have a better idea of what's going on within this company. How do you spend that first 90 days when you get into one of these new positions to ensure that you know exactly what's going on within the company and where you guys should be going?
Yeah, yeah. No, classic. I mean, everyone walks in with their 30, 60, 90-day plan, right? Understanding what are the things that exist from all the functions, whether it is sales or marketing or product, etc. You have a view outside in, like, hey, the website is broken, as an example, and website can be improved. That's a lens you might have from outside. But when you go in, you are now going into the details of a is it a website issue? Is it a content issue? Is it campaigns are running, or is it a something else? Right? You can go have a deep dive sessions into the real operating plan for every function. But then you'll also be able to know about the leaders and the people that are involved in it. Are they the right people who can build it and scale it further? Or the leaders, do the leaders need the right tools to succeed? Or do they need additional support and help, either leaders on top of them or part of them team to really succeed? The goal is to assess or understand in more detail. It's not really an assessment, it's really an understanding of what do you have from your operating plan, and what's your plan to your team to processes, and so now where does this team need help, and how do they become A plus, right? So when you do that, every team is very different, right? Every function is different. Some functions have an operating prioritization problem. Some functions have a leadership problem. The leader cannot articulate or guide them. Some functions have great leaders, great plan. They might need the additional recs or headcount to support it. Some people need to be cognizant about their financial spend. They might be having great plans in the most expensive cost structures that might not be sustainable. So then you start bringing that discipline, in your 90 days, right, with some changes. And then that's an iterative process for you to set the tone and start making progress. Yeah.
Nice. And I'm curious too, because even with like when you're reviewing all these different departments and maybe you see a leader who is not going to be efficient in achieving the vision, mission, moving the needle forward. How do you guys figure out when to train someone up versus when you're going to let someone like that go and replace them with someone else?
Yeah, it's a fantastic question. So one of the things I've learned from my experience is when you really double click into the leader and their operating plan, you will know whether the team, the leaders need, is it a leadership problem? For example, leadership problem has to do with putting a vision, strategy, hiring the right people, prioritizing the right things, and putting the right rigor, communicating, etc. The 4 5 elements, I measure them on strategy, team, execution, communication. Usually, always the 4 pillars. Even my scorecard is based on strategy, team, execution, communication. Of course, company values, culture is always the underpinning fifth element, right? So you look at it from that sense. Then when you start having the sessions with the team and you're doing deep dive reviews, you will know whether, hey, is this a leadership issue? Is this a team issue, or is it a tools issue, or is this more of a process issue, right? And each one has a different fix. If it's a leadership issue, then it is like, hey, you got to make a change. If it's to do with the tools issue, you got to figure out the right tools, because even if you bring a new leader, he or she is going to point out that, hey, I have these tools issues, or you might end up concluding that they are tools issues. Similarly, is it cross-functional processes that are, breaking or slowing the team down, or is it the team or the Rex and the budget, right? So I think the diagnosis is very important to the right solution. And usually people, when they become, C-level or VP plus and get into these roles, the easiest thing is to do is let me change the leader, right? Let me go, and I'm done. And let me go change it, and then the new leader will figure it out. That is basically during the that is totally putting aside the diagnosis and saying, you know what, I don't have even patience to understand what problem am I solving, right? And you might end up with the same result again and again, right? So that's why the the root cause analysis is critical to the right change.
I like that. I like that. That's very cool. How long does it usually take you guys to figure out the root cause? Does it vary each time?
It changes. Sometimes you think you know the root cause, but you this is a continuous learning in leadership, right? So you see, you usually know in the first 90 days is different from once you are in the job. See, first 90 days is you have a complete outside in lens. You are evaluating as if you are a consultant, right? It's much more, you will be like clear and objective. It's decisions made. It's first 90 days is different. But when you have somebody, when you're bought into that person or a team and they're making progress, then understanding the root causes and figuring out why are things not moving at a certain expectation, and root causing is a different diagnosis. So that needs a very different lens to say, you know what, you have to step back and say, you know what, now, okay, what is the repeated? Now you look at patterns, right? Hey, you thought he or she is a good leader, then you thought they had a good process and tools. You thought all of this, but then that root cause is not what is turning out to be true, right? And then you end up with another analysis and say, hey, what is happening, right? So you take a second shot at course correcting on the problem.
That's fun. Yeah, thank you for sharing that. And I'm curious too, because I know that HG Insights has also been acquiring a couple companies. So, what was the decision to acquire the companies that you have?
Yeah, no, great question. So we laid out our vision around revenue growth intelligence, 6 months into my job. Really, the whole idea is we do have a lot of proprietary intelligence, and that intelligence need to connect to revenue growth and retention, right? If it's not, then we don't know what we are selling, honestly, right? Why are we wasting anybody's time, right? Operational efficiency is inherent value of any data or AI solutions, because that's what you expect out of any automation, for example, right? But the top line growth is the critical element. So that's when we looked at all the intelligence that we had, and we felt that there are gaps, right? For example, buyer intent, understanding, for example, we provide intelligence, like as using the example of Pfizer, we can tell all the products that Pfizer is using today. Okay, like we can say, hey, they're using Palo Alto firewall, they're using Cisco firewall in this location and that location, etc., etc. Right? They can, we can come up with a lot of specific intelligence, specifically, right? Now, what we were missing is, for example, what is a buyer's behavior? Are the existing buyers of the, let's say Pfizer is using a firewall, are they in market for another firewall? Because that will be a different signal to tell companies that, hey, you know what, your product is going to churn because your buyer is looking for another firewall, right? Or you can drive an expansion into your account. So we found gaps in our portfolio or in our intelligence. We said, okay, Trust Radius is bringing the buyer intelligence, which will be unique to the company intelligence. We added that will make us very unique. The second is, we realized that, one is having proprietary intelligence, but then the agents or the solutions, co-pilots, are the way to consume this intelligence. For example, if Carly wants to calculate, my addressable market for a product, you want to interact with the solution as opposed to dealing with the data, right? Because not everybody is a data nerd, right? There are a lot of users who don't have the sophistication of many data scientists and so on. So it is meant to be for a different cohort. We bought agentic platform, which has two co-pilots, one for RevOps and one for sales. And we were building a co-pilot for strategy teams, which is the market analyzer co-pilot. our plan was to bring all these three co-pilots in integrated platform. And the co-pilots are an experience, but underneath they're agents. I mean, answers the question. Like, for example, if you take SMB mid-market, the data science teams are very small, but we have all the intelligence to give them, right? We can't give intelligent solution like what we give to Google as an example, because they don't have the capacity to analyze it or use it effectively. So the best way is ready-made solutions. So we wanted to provide ready-made solutions to go to market, I mean, to mid-market. So that's why we went and got them into acquiring Kuru, right? So that's what is the thesis behind those two.
Nice. And I'm curious too, with these acquisitions, are you guys integrating it within the company fully under HG Insights, or are you keeping them under their separate brand entities?
100% integrated right from day one. That is the thesis, and we have integrated all the offerings within our first 6 months. End of as we started 2026, all these offerings are integrated. For example, the buyer reviews, the buyer intent is continuously integrated into our intelligence fabric. It's integrated once, but it's a continuous change that happens on the buyer side, and it will be constantly fed. That's one integration that was already done, and every customer can get the value now. Similarly, the co-pilots are all integrated into a unified platform. We also streamline the pricing models to one. So, and then the go-to-market teams are all integrated into one. There's only one marketing team, one sales team, one product team, etc., etc. So all streamlined. That is always the viewpoint that we need to have streamlined offerings. Otherwise, it too, it will be too complex for a customer.
That's fair. I'm curious as well because it feels like that adds another level of complexity to what you guys are trying to do in the transformation, where you're transforming the culture within HG Insights, but now you're adding Mad Kudu and you have the other company, and all of a sudden now you have multiple cultures merging. So tell me a little bit about that. That doesn't sound like it's for the faint of heart.
Correct. I think culture transformation, like you told, is like the hard, very tough problem to solve. The difficulty that we have had, and we are, we're kind of getting better, is HG itself was a 10 plus year old culture, right? Because the company existed for 15 years now. So it has evolved over 15 years, right? From a small, niche company to something big. And similarly, Matt Kudu and Trust Radius are also 10 plus year old companies in their own right. Okay, well, Matt Kudu was a 20, 30 people company, and Trust Radius was a 60, 70 people company in their own culture, in their own place. Like Matt Kudu had more French and US based employees, and Trust Radius has more Austin and Austin and US based employees. And then Hedgie had more, call it Santa Barbara, US and London based and Brazil based employees. So we're like, it is different cultures, different companies, different things all together. So we ran through a lot of culture workshops to unify on the values last year. So we had people, in a culture committee from all these three companies. And it is many people have been coming along, right, into an aligned story, aligned vision, aligned approach, because everybody sees pros and cons of a small company versus a bigger company and so on. But that's a journey we are on, right? Redefining values, bringing companies together, embedding them into right structures. And, now we have monthly all hands to communicate and educate everyone on what's happening. It's still the company in progress. I would say work in progress.
Hey everyone, it's Carly. So, if this conversation is really hitting home and you want to get a real snapshot of what's working and what's not in your business, head on over to my website in the tools and tips section and you can have the business performance health check. In just about 15 minutes, you're going to see where the friction is and where your next growth opportunity lies within your company. Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. I imagine it's quite tricky.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And I'm curious as well, because I know something when we were chatting on the pre-call you mentioned is the Horizon 1, 2, 3 framework. Tell me a little bit more about that and how it's happening in HT.
Yeah, so I've applied 2 frameworks in my career. One was this 4 zones to win framework that you probably heard of, right? It's very popular on the internet. Like, how do you organize to win? Like, there is an innovation zone, then there is a, which is usually the transformation zone, then there is a operational efficiency zone, etc. And where you're optimizing functions to, reduce cost, but then reinvesting dollars in the new innovation and so on, right? But that's one I have done. Here they're doing the Horizon 1 to 3 framework. The reason for this is, in our case, we the market is moving fast. Our Horizon 1 itself is already transformed our innovation zone, right? So we have already transformed the company. We moved from a traditional model to already a model where we have innovated like core business. When we have done it, then the next question is now what else is the market expecting, right? And market is expecting more newer solutions like agentic solutions. In the world of agentic solutions, agents are interacting with agents, and agents are interacting with data, and the humans are providing the governance and experience to really ensure the security, supply chain, and many things, right, to bring their experience to make it operational. So in that world, the solutions will look different. So we had a Horizon 3 team completely focused on our agentic solutions, right? Because in the world of agents, agents interact with data and intelligence. How do you make it accessible to them in a way where, it's agents can fetch, 10 million records intelligence in a second versus a human processing, 1,000 records a day or something, right? Or intelligence, etc. So, and the Horizon 2 is really, where there are products still need to get into a flywheel motion or a scalable motion. For us, the Horizon 1 is really products that are ready to go to market, where sales, marketing, full energy is needed right now, where customers are resonating with the pricing. And our challenge now in this market is that quickly offering, moving from Horizon 3 to 2 to 1, right? So it's not a 3-year window like what companies used to have, where Horizon 3 is a 3 years out vision, and 3 years later it will become mainstream. That's not the case. It's that Horizon 3 can become Horizon 1 in 1 year window, right? So that's kind of what we're facing and experiencing right now.
That's cool. That's very cool. And tell me a little bit about even the cadence that you've built for the leadership team, because, as you mentioned, you have people pretty much spread across the world. So, how do you create an alignment with all these different leaders in different places?
Yeah, I think you touched upon a very important word, alignment. This cross-functional alignment is the one that has frustrated me in every organization that I have been in prior to HG, right? The reason is when the cross functions don't align on a common vision, strategy, execution plan, everybody is going fast, but all going in a slightly different direction. I'm not saying they all go in different directions, but slightly different. That drains energies out and you don't get the best bang for the buck, right? So what we are doing here is aligning entire company into a quarterly cadence. So we have done 2 things last year and we continue to do that this year, which is on a half yearly basis. We have done an entire company kickoff. Company kickoff means there is updated product plans, pricing plans, sales plans, marketing plans, customer success plans, operational plans, budgets, finances, recs, everything all sorted out and also shared with the company. This is our updated company plan that you will see all functions. And these are the priorities or imperatives that we are linking them to. And this is how we are going to measure on these 5 priorities. And that interconnects all these functions, right? So we roll this out every 6 months. So we'll be doing a revision of our plan again in July. We have a scheduled set of sessions in July already, and we have done an update to the company in January as part of our sales and company kickoff this year. So, and then in a regular cadence, we have a quarterly sync up among leadership to do a review of a quarterly plan. Like you review what progress we made last quarter, what is the plan for the next quarter, and how do we align cross functionally, right? So this is where we're trying to get ourselves into a cross-functional company launch on a quarterly basis. The launch means all the functions are ready end to end and align on what is ready, right? Usually it's a product that is ready. And of course, you want the salespeople to talk about that tomorrow, right? So you'll develop a new shiny toy, sales should be talking about it. Otherwise, it's not useful. So that means you have to have enablement, you have product marketing, website, SKUs or packaging, promotions, lots of things sorted out. So we are getting to that full company launch on a quarterly basis. So we're also getting to full alignment. We're still few steps away from that full alignment.
That's cool. And I'm curious too, because you talk about the cross-functional dynamic where you look at all the different functions of the company and you're really trying to get everyone aligned in communication. Tell me a little bit about how you guys are doing that. I know that that can be quite tricky.
Yeah, no, it is not an easy thing. Like this is another thing that is also not meant for the faint heart. The reason is it is understanding. It is basically like like the model of you pass on the ball to the next person, and the next person passes on to the next person. And when they pass on the ball, it can't be they dropping the ball. It should not be the analogy. It should be really the analogy of passing the ball, where the ball is really going the full ball. It should not be like, hey, the person was trying to, build a horse or an aeroplane, and then when they communicate to the next person, the aeroplane has now become helicopter to, and the following person thinks it's a jeep or a high speed train. It cannot be lost in communication. Otherwise, you'll lose the whole momentum, right? So it is meant to be detailed to understand the left and the right. So every person, every leader need to understand two sides of it, at least minimum. They don't have to understand all the elements. Hey, whom am I handing off to, right? And whom am I receiving it from, right? So you're taking it from someone, you're giving it to someone, but then, and that handoff has to be fully complete to say, you know what, I gave it to Carly. Did Carly fully get it and own it? And I have to help the support, make sure it is handing off fully. Otherwise, what happens is, I think, I send an email to Carly, hey, I handed off, thank you very much, goodbye, and I disappear. Then you'll be like, you might have taken half of it or changed the direction into something else. There's no way to verify, right? So I think that's where it becomes tricky, and again, not meant for the faint heart, because it needs communication and follow through. Mainly,
Mhm.
it's operational rigor. It's what is needed.
Oh, that's cool. Thank you for sharing that. And I'm curious too, so when you think about HG Insights, we've kind of talked about what you guys are up to, where you're going. What does the future look like for HG Insights? Like, what would you say the long-term goal is maybe that we haven't discussed yet?
Yeah. No, so I
Mhm.
think for us, we are in I would say, relatively very comfortable place from our innovation and IP, because we have proprietary data, right? And proprietary, we believe that in the new world where, see, right now you will see that a lot of people are worried about jobs because, hey, AI might displace jobs, etc. And I have a slightly different thesis that it is a short-term blip and then it will increase, because we are few things that are going to happen, right? We are humans, we are ambitious, or we are survival of the fittest, right? Like we had gone through that, all billions of years, even before we are all here, right? It has happened, right? So naturally, what is going to happen is that the roles are going to change. A simple example is there's the talk about software engineer job disappearing, right? Okay, everybody's saying a code can be written for $0 or free. Okay, so then when the software engineer job reduces, they are going to get embedded in other functions, or they are going to apply it elsewhere, right? Like, for example, finance will need automation help, and some of the engineers will go into finance and learn about finance, right? So there are many ways things are going to change, and people are going to relearn or reapply those skills and pivot, right? So that is the world we are, we see that there will be change happening. So then net is there will be more needs for scale, automation, all of it, which means more jobs, everything, right? It's made matter of how do we train, how does the workforce self-adopt to that? Because we don't have a a government or a system or a society where everybody can be trained on a new thing that comes in the transformation. There's no such thing in a corporate economy like US or in many countries, most of the countries, right? It is up to the leaders to educate and enable the teams or the people to self-learn, etc. So where I'm going with this is in this new world, we're imagining a lot of agents, agentic solutions, trying to do more scale, more automation. Like, hey, I want I want 100% growth, and if I want 100% growth, hey, 10 people should be augmented with 1,000 agents that can do the job 10 times faster or do more, right? In that world, what happens is now the agents want to use more intelligence, more data, more automation, want to be very data driven in their models because agents operate on information and data, right? Just like we operate on that as well, but we bring our human perspective. But when we see that world, we see how our data can be used at scale, right? Now, so in that world, we have a fantastic opportunity for us, right? And we are trying to redesign and reimagine our offerings to that world. So that's what is coming up. We call it agentic mesh. Like we imagine every customer has their own agentic mesh, like bunch of agents they create, they can't combine with our agents or some partners agents created. But those agents are combined with the humans who are managing it and governing. But then they all need massive amounts of intelligence at scale, right? And in a quality manner. So how do we solve it? That's where we're going.
Yeah, that's very cool. That's very cool. I love how you put it as well too, where I agree with you. I do not think AI is going to replace humans, but that humans consistently we figure out not just how to survive but thrive, and it's like they'll figure out a way to take the skills that they have and transition them into something else, and it's kind of exciting to be able to also see not just the transformation in technology, but the transformation that we're going to get with humans and humanity and how we apply ourselves. It's an exciting time. Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for coming. I really enjoyed this conversation. And if people want to find out more about you, about the company, where should they go?
I think the best way is hedgeinsights.com. And then, of course, if they want to connect with me, they can reach out on LinkedIn and happy to, respond and find ways to help them in whatever way we can as individual or as a colleague or as a company providing a solution, whatever makes sense.
Awesome. And I'll be sure to put the links in the show notes as well. And if anyone found this inspiring, interesting, feel free to share it with someone else who you think might enjoy it. And thank you again for coming, Rohini. This was great.
Carly, thank you so much for having me, and you have a wonderful rest of the weekend here.
Thank you.